You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales. Streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
2, 1.
I was just having a weird conversation with JD, our producer, and this is somehow the voice that I ended up using in the conversation as we were trying to figure out whether it's a conspiracy of crows or a kindness of crows or ravens. And we know it's a murder of crows. And if it's only one, it's an attempted murder. Yes, quite good, sir. So I'm going to try to get rid of this voice during the break. But you got to kind of stuck with it now. We got an old-fashioned show today, well, the kind I used to do, where we talk about multiple subjects. We'll be talking about the Acolyte and all of the fear that is ruining Star Wars. We will talk about The Bear, just really good writing on the show. And we'll be talking about Madam Web, a movie that I did sit through and watch this previous weekend. And I will talk about it. We have some news to cover, and we will get right into it after this. Stick around. Hey everybody, welcome to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. Hello to Ed and to Preston. We got JD on the board. It is a murder of crows and it is a kindness of ravens. But if you look it up, it's also a conspiracy of ravens. So kind of confusing there. Not quite sure. But anyway, we are going to jump into the news. And like I said, then we'll come back and we'll hit on a few different topics today. Also, if you guys have any questions, comments, anything you want to, an unkindness of ravens. That's right. So please feel free to jump in with any questions, comments, whatnot. And please hit those like and subscribe buttons and tell your friends about this. You know, all the stuff that I'm supposed to ask as a person on social media. Now, let's get into the news. We got some pretty interesting stories today. We're going to have to start off, though, with a sad story. Today, we learned of the passing of legendary actor Donald Sutherland at the age of 88 after a long undisclosed illness. Sutherland was known for doing a lot of movies. I mean, he was pretty much doing multiple movies every year through the 70s and 80s. And just some of the movies he's known for. He was the original Hawkeye in the MASH movie opposite of Elliot Gould as Trapper John. And the two of them would re-team years later for the movie Spies. He was in Clute with Jane Fonda. He was in Ordinary People with Mary Tyler Moore and Timothy Hutton. He was President Snow in The Hunger Games. He was in Invasion of the Body Snatchers. He's that famous meme or gift of the guy going, ah! That's Donald Sutherland. He is, of course, also the father of actor Kiefer Sutherland, along with he's got 3 other boys and a girl, or 3 other sons and a daughter. They all work in different parts of the industry. His career spanned over 60 years, starting all the way back with guest appearances on Suspense and The Avengers. His big break came in 1967 when he appeared in The Dirty Dozen with Lee Marvin, Ernest Borgnine, Charles Bronson, and Talisa. I mean, it was a huge cast. From there, he went on to play Hawkeye. He did a bunch of other movies, Kelly's Heroes. He won a Emmy for the TV series Citizen X, and he won an honorary Oscar in 2017. Just just a brilliant actor, made everything he was in better. And it's sad to hear him pass. I know 88 is a good long life. I mean, when you get into the late 80s, early 90s and you pass, it's like you almost feel like going, well done. You did good. But at the same time, you just think about the legacy, and it's hard to accept that the person is gone. So we condolences to his family, his friends, and his fans. All right, let's move on. Speaking of dead things, something that won't die. Universal is continuing to try to make the Dark Universe something. If you remember, the Dark Universe was what they were going to call the relaunch of the Universal monster movies. It was going to be Tom Cruise and the Mummy, and they started talking about that Dracula Untold as being part of it. There was going to be an Invisible Man with Johnny Depp. I mean, they had big plans they had announced. And the Tom Cruise movie came out and just bombed. Absolutely bombed. And they stopped talking about it. And none of the other movies really moved forward. Now they're doing things, smaller budget things. But they're not forgetting the idea at all altogether. The Dark Universe is going to be one of the 5 immersive worlds being opened up at Universal, the Universal Epic Universe in 2025. Those 5 worlds being Celestial Park. That's the first world visitors encounters, serves as a portal to the other 4. The other 4 being the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, the Ministry of Magic, the Super Nintendo world with How to Train Your Dragon, the Isle of Berk, and Dark Universe. Dark Universe will leverage Universal's storied history in the horror genre, created by the Universal creative team. It partners with Universal Pictures. Dark Universe blends the iconic stories of unearthed legends like Dracula, the Wolfman, Frankenstein's monster, the Bride of Frankenstein, and more, with a new generation of monsters and characters, including Dr. Victoria Frankenstein, the great-great-granddaughter of the infamous Henry Frankenstein, who has continued his misguided experiments. So Ed says, I wish they would let that go. Whoever is in charge has no idea what they're doing. Marvel's Wolfman or Werewolf by Night felt more like a Universal monster movie than any of the other reboots. Yep, absolutely agree with you there, Ed. Spot on. All right, so, but I am a big fan of the old Universal monster movies, so I kind of hope it does something, you know. By the way, if Universal, if you want to call me, I'd be happy to take over the Dark Universe and get it back on track. I've got ideas. Give me a ring. All right, the second teaser for Max's upcoming series, The Penguin, dropped, along with an announcement that it's going to be debuting in September. Now, this new trailer continues that feeling that it's going to be like The Sopranos in Gotham. And I'm pretty excited about it. I really am. I really liked the Batman movie, and it seems to pick up right after the events of the Batman. So if you are a fan of the Batman, like I am, like Ed is, this is going to pick up right after it. Colin Farrell is back as the Penguin. Now, there's been some talk about Mark Strong being in the series, but with the release today of all the actors listed, he's not among them. So either he's not in it, or they're just keeping his role a secret. There was some speculation he might be playing Carmine Falcone, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me because John Turturro played him and is killed in the Batman. Sorry if that's a spoiler, but this picks up after the events of the Batman, the flooding of the city, and Carmine's death. So the Penguin is trying to take over, but there's also other elements in it. Christina Milioti is going to be playing Sophia Falcone. more of a femme fatale than an adversary. So it should be interesting to see how that's played out. There's a line from her and it says, "I'm the daughter of the Falcone Don, and he's dead. I refuse to let these old men push me aside again. So I'm going to take from them now, and I'm going to force them to their knees." Pretty good line. Now, the 8-episode series started in development back in September of 2021. Now, again, Christine Milotti is going to be playing Sophia Falcone. Renzi Felice is going to play Victor Aguilar, and I'm assuming he's the kid that starts helping Penguin or Oswald Cobblepot. Michael Kelly from so many shows, Veep, Jack Ryan series. He's going to play John Vitti. Shorey Agdashlu from The Expanse is going to be playing Nadia Moroni, wife of Salvatore Moroni, who's going to be played by Clancy Brown, assuming it's his wife. Deidre O'Connell is going to be playing Francis Cobb. James Medeo is Milos Grappa. Scott Cohn is going to be Luca Falcone. Michael Zagan is going to be Alberto Falcone. Alberto is probably best known for his role in The Long Halloween. Carmen Ejogo is going to be playing Eve Carlo. That's kind of interesting. Eve Carlo. Carlo's the last name of Basil Carlo, who is Clayface. So that's interesting. And Theo Rossi, who was in was Shades in the Luke Cage series, is going to be playing Dr. Julian Rush. So that's going to be coming on this September. And like I said, I'm really geeked up for it. Ed says he's amazing as the Penguin. I've watched that so many times, and I can't find Colin in there anywhere. He's nailed the Penguin, and his makeup is amazing. It absolutely is. And every time I see him, I think he just looks like Richard Kind. You made Colin Farrell look like Richard Kind. That's just amazing to me. All right, moving on. In recent set photos for the upcoming Superman movie, there's a Maxwell Lord Easter egg scene. There's a shop window that says, "We offer the largest selection of," and then it gives various logos for companies, including Samsung, real electronics company, Quietly and Sons, which I'm thinking is probably a nod to Frank Quietly, the artist of Superman or All-Star Superman, which I know James Gunn considers one of his inspirations on this. Also, then the other thing on there says Lord Tech, which is the company owned by Maxwell Lord. Now, we know that Sean Gunn, the brother of James Gunn, was cast to play Maxwell Lord in the DCU, but there's been no confirmation on exactly when he's going to appear. So we'll have to wait and see if he's going to be in Superman or, if it's just a nod, then we'll get him later on. You guys might have heard online, there's been some feedback or blowback against the boys, saying that the right-wingers are kind of realizing that the show's been picking on them the entire run. Well, it hasn't really hurt because the boys' season 4 debut, according to Amazon, premiered 3 episodes and is already up 21% in total viewers compared to season 3 in the first 4 days of its launch. Season 3 also debuted with 3 episodes in the launch. Season 4 is now among the top 5 most viewed TV shows on Prime Video through its first 4 days. So, yeah, it seems to be doing pretty well. Okay, moving on. We have a new Batman. No, not the Batman that's going to be in the DCU for James Gunn. The Batman, the actor that's going to be voicing the animated version of Batman in Batman the Caped Crusader, which is the new Amazon Prime series coming out from Matt Reeves and Bruce Timm, and there's somebody else involved. I can't remember off the top of my head. But so they announced that actor Hamish Linklater is going to be the Dark Knight. He's probably best known for roles in like Manhunt, the crazy priest in Midnight Mass. And of course, he was a recurring character on The New Adventures of Old Christine. Speaking of Christine, Christine Ricci has been cast as Catwoman, or Selena Kyle. Jamie Chung is going to be playing Harley Quinn. Diedrich Bader is playing Harvey Dent, or Two-Face, which is interesting because Diedrich, of course, has played Batman in Batman the Brave and the Bold. Other names in the cast include McKenna Grace, Toby Stevens, who most recently played Poseidon in the Percy Jackson series on Disney. Reed Scott, John DiMaggio, Tom Kenny, the voice of SpongeBob, and of course, Minnie Driver. This series is going to debut on August 1st on Prime. Okay, moving on to the story I didn't expect to see this early. Ed says, I think the boys are a good job of picking on everyone. I don't think there's a big bias, but I could do with less man violence. Fair enough. So, Jonathan Majors used to be king, got in trouble, went to court, found guilty, got probation. You kind of thought he's going to have to disappear for a bit, and maybe he can come back in some small... No. About a week or so back, they announced he was getting a Perseverance Award. Well, now he is going to be top-lining a new revenge thriller called Merciless, which is based on an original screenplay by Frank Hanna. Martin Villeneuve, the younger brother of Dune's Denis Villeneuve, will be directing. The younger Villeneuve is best known for his sci-fi opus Mars et Avril. Merciless follows a top CIA interrogator. After the woman he loves is overtaken by a malevolent force, he is forced to go even darker to defeat it. The film will mark Major's first role of significance since his third-degree assault and harassment conviction earlier just this year. The movie will shoot in Saskatchewan this fall. Now, the project was developed by producer Christopher Tuffin, who said in a statement, I consider it an honor and a privilege to be working with Jonathan, who is such a great talent now that the matters have been adjudicated. Yeah. A little more time, I think, would have been a better call on this one, don't you? All right. We have one other story, and this ties into one of the things we're going to be talking about. And this has to do with the Acolyte. But this isn't so much about the Acolyte as been the reaction to the Acolyte. Now, you guys know of Wikipedia. It's the Star Wars version of Wikipedia that, just covers everything. Legends and canon, all the books, all the movies, all the comics, all the TV. It's just like the super repository of all Star Wars knowledge. And they've come under fire after making an edit to Coyote Mundi's canon page on the Acolyte. Now, you got to understand that there's canon pages and legends pages. And the difference is that when Disney bought Lucasfilms, they said that all of the novels and stuff are now legends. They're not necessarily canon. And they have been slowly putting things back into canon. So they introduce something in one of the TV shows or one of the movies, it becomes canon. And most of the time, they've been really good about not contradicting the legends. But it's not 100%, and they never said that it was going to be. They basically said, if it's legends, it's not canon until we make it canon. So if we do something different, it's not. And that is what's happened. In an episode of The Acolyte, the Syrian Jedi, Ki-Adi-Mundi, made an appearance. Now, the problem with that is that this takes place 100 some odd years before the Battle of Yavin. And Star Wars treats everything based on the Battle of Yavin. Well, this is 100 something BBY. And it was said that Mundi was born in 93 BBY, and this takes place in like 134 BBY. So it takes place about 40 years before he was supposed to be born. And the characters are the Siren are supposed to live between 50 and 100 years, like humans. Well, all of that is just legends, not canon. Most of the information comes from, and none of that appears in the movies or anything, or even in the books. Most of that comes from a 1999 CD-ROM that was released after the Phantom Menace, and a 2013 trading card with info on it. Now, George Lucas himself contradicted some of the content of the CD-ROM when he changed Ki-Mundi's lightsaber color in later movies, and both were rendered non-canon in 2014 by Disney. So his age has never been specified otherwise. And the problem is that they made a change because he appears in the Acolyte. So his age changed, or his date of birth, and people went nuts. And not only did they go nuts in the sense of, I mean, this is not a major famous character. He's the Conehead guy from the Jedi Master Council. But one of the two things is the age, and the other is a line he says in the Phantom Menace that the Sith hadn't been seen in a millennium. And they're saying in the Acolyte, well, this is obviously a Sith, so he would have known about it. And he would have known about there being twins and all this other stuff. So they're not happy about that, but there's this backlash. And the editors have gotten threats, death threats, threats to their family, their children. And it's absolutely ridiculous. You know? JD says, so like in Star Wars canon, General Thrawn exists now, but not necessarily the actions of the novels where he originated. Exactly. So they're saying that we're going to pull as much from legends as possible, but it may not be the exact same. It's going to work into what we're doing now. But yeah, so people are literally coming out. And one of the things the trolls are doing is they're taking Ki-Mundi's Legends page, the one that's clearly marked Legends, and then they're editing it to remove the legend banner and then putting it up as, look, this is what it should have been, and they changed it because of this woke movie or woke TV series. So, but this is also a show that is getting really high reviews from critics and absolutely review bombed by fans. So the trolls are at it again. But there is some good news out of all this. The editors are receiving a lot of support from other parts of the fandom. There's a hashtag out there that says we stand with # we stand with Wikipedia. It's trending and it's been shared by fans, influencers, and even some of the biggest named authors of the Star Wars books and stuff. So, yeah. Donnie Boy says, Defense not a big fan of all this woke stuff. They keep doing it. It's way too forced. You know what? I'm mixed on that. Some of it seems natural. Some of it seems a little, but the bottom line is they're telling the stories they want to tell. You know, that's the bottom line, is they're telling the stories they want to tell. And if we don't like them, we don't have to watch them. Now, so far, I haven't been overly offended by anything. I've enjoyed the Acolyte so far, but I'm hoping it all pans out well. I see them setting up a lot of stuff, but Preston says, if The Rise of Skywalker didn't ruin Star Wars, I don't think the Acolyte is going to have much impact. Yeah. Donnie agrees. Hey, Triple B, good to see you. So yeah, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, We are going to talk about the Acolyte. And speaking of bad things, we're going to talk about Madam Web. So we will be right back.
Download our app on Google Play and the App Store. It's so simple, even my mommy can use it.
Ask your local comic shop to add Battle Quest comics to your pull list today. Some comic live streams seem like they're just throwing everything at the wall. Hey, you want this unknown comic? Here, how about this boring one? Found this one in a rain gutter, give me some money for it. I know this looks like a rotting sandwich, but I swear it's a comic. Pay me! But with Comic Collectibles, we know you don't just want comics, you want the right comics. You want rare variant and incentive covers, vintage books in pristine condition at prices you won't find anywhere else, and truly unique hand-drawn cover sketches by some of the most amazing artists in the business. Join Rex and his rotating cast of co-hosts live from Dynamite Entertainment headquarters for a carefully curated roster of comics that you'll only find here at Comic Collectibles. Every Monday at 6 and Wednesday at 7 Eastern Time. Part of the experience.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. Stick around today. We got a big lineup. We got What's in the Box. We have the Geek Chat and, of course, Sketch Up tonight. JD, I didn't send you an email, so don't know. Thank you, Dan, for that touching tribute. Aw. Very cool. Oh, for me. Who was it from? Okay. Ed says nothing will ever destroy Star Wars. The original trilogy will always be amazing. Rogue One is great prequel, and The Mandalorian is outstanding. I'm just going to ignore that. What I don't like without toxicity. Perfect, Ed. That's perfect for Star Wars, for Marvel, for DC. Like what you like, ignore what you don't, and be happy that there's things out there you like, you know? I mean, if you're my age or near my age, and I'm going white now, you grew up with Reb Brown as Captain America, you know, and Lou Ferrigno as the Hulk. So we're miles ahead of where we were. Well, Lou Ferrigno was a pretty good Hulk, but Reb Brown, I feel sorry for the man, but the guy had a motorcycle helmet on and a plexiglass shield. So, and Peter Hammond is Spider-Man. I mean, Gandalf the White. Cute, Jay. You shall not pass. Yes, but you shall fall off the stage. I only make that joke because I know that Ian McKellen is recovering. So let's see. Donnie says, yeah, I'm not taking any offense to it either. It just seems like they made a story, then, okay, add this here and here instead of making it flow and be a little more subtle with it. Preston says, I think the way to go, Ed, most people I talked to didn't care much for Solo, but I liked it and would watch it. You know what? It's funny about Solo and a lot of this stuff is people tend to like it better in retrospect. They complain about it initially, and then later on they go, you know what? That Solo movie was much better than I thought it was. Why didn't we get a sequel? Well, that's because everybody came out against it when it came out. But then when you look at it again, you go, you know, that's actually a pretty good movie. Ever see the video of Kelsey Grammer falling off the stage during his? I have not. Donnie says, we all have to be happy that they are even giving us anything. Think about it. It is all we have ever wanted. So now let's take the good with the bad and move forward. Exactly, Donnie. Well put. So, okay, we got two major things to talk about. And since we're talking about the Acolyte, we'll go ahead and talk about the Acolyte. And then I'll go into my rant about Madam Web. So the Acolyte, it feels to me like this show would be better served if it had been all dropped at once. Because I think by divvying it out 2 week, 2, 1, 1, 1, what's happening is that, yes, okay. When you were younger, did you ever try to explain a comic book to somebody who didn't read comics? You try to explain Spider-Man, you say, well, he was bitten by a radioactive spider. Why? So, and he got spider powers. Well, why would he get spider powers? Why wouldn't he just die from the radiation? No, he got spider powers. Okay, so what are spider powers? Well, he's super strong. Are spiders super strong? Well, they do have a lot more strength, but he can also stick to walls. Well, that's kind of a weird one, but okay. And how does he shoot webs? Well, he's also a genius enough to make a web fluid that 3M would kill for. Yeah, he just does this in his teenage years. Oh, okay. So he just is able to do this regardless of the fact he was bit by a spider. Did he get super brains? I mean, are spiders smart? I mean, you see how silly it sounds when you start breaking it down. Star Wars is, in a lot of ways, a very silly concept when you break it down. You know, you have basically your either the only people that ever get attention in this series: smugglers, bounty hunters, and space monks or space ninjas, however you want to look at them. The common people don't tend to get looked at in this show. Smugglers, bounty hunters, space ninjas. That's all that gets the attention. And, you know, and then you try to explain that to somebody. So the ideas behind it is like, you know, let's look at the Acolyte. Well, we're following the story of twins, identical twins, and one of them is possibly evil. And anytime you say that, they go, they're doing the evil twin thing. Well, yeah, but maybe she's not evil. Really? Maybe the other one's evil. Oh, so there's your twin. So there's all these little kind of tropes that they're doing. Even as silly as, I'm not wearing the civilian robe, and then suddenly she's wearing the civilian robe. Those things seem silly when given time to think about it. But if you do the whole story at once, the mystery, it kind of makes more sense. So if there is a big twist or something that kind of takes away the fact that we're dealing with another set of twins in Star Wars, then yeah, I think we kind of need to get to that, because I think that's what's kind of throwing people off, is that, you know, this, this does feel kind of low budget. And I know I watched the spaceship land in the 4th episode. I thought, wow, they must have ran out of money. Or I saw one of the producers talk about how there had been a planned fight scene between for the Kilnaka, the Wookiee Jedi, but we never got it. Now, it is kind of a mystery trope to be looking for somebody and walking in and finding them dead. You know, you're racing to get to somebody and they're already dead. That's kind of a mystery trope. And if that was what they were doing, fine. But we kind of wanted to see the Wookiee fight. I wanted to see a Wookiee Jedi, and I feel shorted on that. Preston says, James Bond, at least the movie version, isn't any less than Spider-Man, but he gets more of a pass since he doesn't wear a snappy gun. Exactly. Yeah. So if a lot of us were introduced to Star Wars when we were kids, and this was a movie made for kids. You know, this wasn't made to be a gritty adult thing. Rogue One and Andor are kind of covering that mode of it, but overall, it's meant for families. It's meant for kids. You know, and every time as adults we look at it and we go, "Oh, that's silly. Oh, that's done." You're missing the point. You know, that's like going back and picking apart the Harry Potter movies after the fact because, well, you know, if Harry actually would have just told one adult something, none of this would have happened. Well, yeah, but that wasn't the story Rawlings was telling. So I think that there's a lot of potential in it. I think there's a bigger mystery going on. I'm watching this with my girlfriend, and it's interesting because she's nerdy. She loves Star Wars. She loves Star Trek. She loves, you know, all the Marvel movies and stuff like that. She plays D&D with me and stuff. So this is her area, but she's watching the show and going, really, twins, the evil twin thing? Or, you know, she sees some of the stuff and it looks silly to her. And I think that by stretching it out over weeks, that stuff is being highlighted. Where if it was all dropped at once, we got to see all 8 episodes in a binge watch, I think we would get to the mystery and the reveals and stuff that I'm hoping are there. I'm not sure they're there, but I'm hoping are there that could really make this series work. And you know, we need to get to those faster. JD says, not only that, I think the average populace was more naive in that age. Yep. Also, there was less megaphones. Andy Warhol said that everybody gets their 15 minutes of fame. That's changed now since the internet. Everybody gets to say whatever the hell they want, regardless of whether it's true or matters or, you know, is anything close to a valued opinion. Just and it's hard for me to say stuff like that because this is what I do. You know? But still, there's a lot of people who just come out and say just really crazy things about shows and threaten editors who are updating Wikipedia. I mean, that's weird. Ed says, would it be fair to say that Disney is just checking stuff out there as money grab instead of focusing on a good story? That's what I'm seeing when they tell a good story, Mando is good. I don't think they're necessarily trying to just grab money because there are ways they could go bigger money-wise. So I think they are trying to tell good stories. But the problem is that we've got a fan base that doesn't want the same thing told over and over again, but they don't want any changes. There's a point where the fan base takes ownership of the property and will hate everything. If there's change, they'll hate it. If it's the exact same thing, they'll hate it. I mean, it's a fine line to find something they like, and the fan base is also very fickle. Because, I mean, if you think about it, before he took over DC, everybody loved James Gunn. Now everybody's ripping on him because he, mistreated Henry Cavill, even though it had nothing to do with him. So Preston says, or is Disney trying to expand the audience by appealing to those who didn't get on the bandwagons to start with? That's another possibility. This is a different style of show in a different era. Would we be talking about Ki-Adi Mundi if he hadn't appeared? Should they have avoided that? But most of the time when they put in an Easter egg like that, the fans love it. So how would they know that this was the one they wouldn't like? It's complicated like that. It's hard to serve a fan base that feels that they're entitled. And as much as there are other big franchises out there, you don't get that much from James Bond, somewhat. Oh, he doesn't look like James Bond. Oh, it should be this actor. Oh, it should be, but it's not to that point. You get some feedback, but not to the point where people are getting death threats or they're review bombing things. And at this point, it's just ridiculous because, do I think The Acolyte is great? No. I think it has potential to really stick the landing and become a good series in retrospect. I think that some of the stuff has been a little on the low end budget-wise. I think the storytelling is a little slow, but I'm willing to wait and see how it ends. Now, if we get to the ending and none of this pays off and it ends up being just, why did we take this ride? Then yeah, I will say that. I will call that out. But condemning the show now when it's a mystery show, that's kind of ridiculous. You should at least wait till you see what they're doing, because sometimes the setup can be silly. So, all right, let's go ahead and we'll take our second break. And when we come back, we're going to talk Madam Web. Be right back.
What do you call the place on Spider-Man's wrists where the webs come out? His website. I hate myself for writing that joke, but you'd make me feel so much better if you just visited our website. We have links to our merch, new release lists, all the show info, and so much more. TheEXPLive.com.
So, the show is called The Geek Chat. And really, there's just a couple of geeks.
I'm Rich.
I'm Dez.
And we are your hosts for this weekly guide into comic bookery and all the geeky stuff that goes with it.
And that pretty much says it all. They talk about the latest movies and shows.
Okay, I'll be completely honest with you. Overall, D+ movie.
So the end. Did you know who that is?
That's She-Ra, yeah.
Yes.
The new #1 comics of the week.
We rep Samuel Jackson and we rep Mace Windu.
I passed on this. I was like...
No regrets.
No regrets. I really wanted to like this book. I really, 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 really did. Like, I really did.
And just chat with each other. And with you.
Oh, Daniel says, I dozed off with the first one. I have zero interest in the Joker Harley ship, not Harley herself. Enjoy, not for me. Yeah, this movie's going to be rough for me to sit through, I'll be honest.
The Geek Chat, Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. Just a couple of honest geeks.
Let's be honest. Come on.
And that is why people watch us, because we're honest.
Giving their honest opinions.
And the thing you always have to remember about the internet is everyone has an opinion, and they all suck.
Part of the experience.
everyone. Welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. Real quick, if you guys are enjoying The Boys new season, but have not read the comics, if you go over to Humble Bundle, all of The Boys comics are available to at a pretty good price digitally on Humble Bundle, and a big chunk of the proceeds go to the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund. So check that out. I want to answer Preston's. Oh, there's the link in chat. Thank you, JD. I want to answer Preston's question. I think it was. I'm sorry, Triple B's. Dan, do you think you could have wrote a better series? Not knowing where they're going, I would be hesitant to say an answer, because maybe they're doing all of this on purpose. But I think I could. I think I would have handled certain things differently. Things that, like the fire in space, I would have avoided that. I probably wouldn't have brought in Calamundi if it contradicted legends, just because there wasn't a need for him. You know, you could have put... oh, I can't think of his name. The guy with the metal face. I just knew his name a minute ago. There are other Jedis that would have been around at this time. They could have put it as a cameo. So, anyway, yeah, I think I could. Jay, thank you. That's very nice of you. But I wanted to. Hell yeah, Jay. Did anybody like Madam Web? I don't think I found someone who will admit it. I don't think you're going to find anybody who will admit it. Jay says, I watched Mobius, so I'm going to eventually watch Madam Web. And Ed says, Amy and I liked Mobius, but WM was terrible. Okay, MW was terrible. Let me tell you the first thing you need to know about Madam Web is it's written by a pair of gentlemen named Matt Sosma and Burke Sharpless. And the reason I mention that is that they have a handful of other movies they have written. Dracula Untold, which we mentioned earlier today, not considered a good movie. The Last Witch Hunter, that had Vin Diesel in it, not considered a good movie. Gods of Egypt, really not considered a good movie. The Power Rangers movie from 2017. Notice there hasn't been a sequel, just saying. They worked on the Lost in Space TV series, which got some pretty good responses, but they wrote the Morbius movie before writing Madam Web. So that's their, I don't know how to put it, that's their pedigree. JD says, no, the first thing you need to know is to not attempt to do CPR as shown in Madam Web. Yes, that is true. The problem with Madam Web is it was made. I watched the movie looking for something good to say about it. You thought BB says he thought Chat GPT wrote it. That's possible. Preston, like God of Egypt. Okay, I'm not going to hold that against you. It's still not a reason to watch Madam Web, though. Okay. The writing on Madam Web is so bad. And I don't think they had any idea. The main villain, all his lines seem to be dubbed by ADR. So they're really badly dubbed. And I don't think Tahar Rahim he can speak English, but they redubbed all his lines with him. You have three women, Celeste O'Connor, Isabel Merced, and Sydney Sweeney, all in their mid to late 20s, playing teenagers. You have somebody like Sydney Sweeney who is being put out there as almost like the next Marilyn Monroe or the next Jane Mansfield. They're really playing up the sexuality of Sydney Sweeney when it comes to roles and stuff. And they downplay her in this as much as possible, which makes you wonder, why are you casting Sydney Sweeney? What do you gain? I mean, you have them make superhero costumes for these three girls, and we barely see them in it. The villain looks like the Wish.com version of Spider-Man. Nobody in this entire movie is likable. At no point is there a character you go, I hope they survive. There's a point that you almost start wishing that Ezekiel could just find the girls and kill them all, just to end the movie. There's not a lot of great stunts. And I think the showstopper stunt that they pull off in this is the most ridiculous stunt. And I'm going to tell you what it is, because I don't want you to watch this movie. There's a scene where Madame Web is starting to figure out how to use her precognitive abilities and is trying to save the girls from Ezekiel. And she's driving an ambulance, and she goes into a parking structure and drives through a cement wall that shoots her out over the city streets and slams into Ezekiel, who tried to jump away from the car. Had he stayed on the roof of the car where the people he was trying to kill were in, she would have flown right over him. But instead, he leapt away and got hit by the ambulance. In this movie, she steals a cab early on and proceeds to drive everywhere in this cab, leads it at the airport for a week, comes back, and then picks the cab up in long-term parking. And the police never notice this cab that has been stolen. She then steals an ambulance. These are things that have LoJacks on them, even in 2003. The writing is atrocious. The action is horrible. Ezekiel has this woman helping him, and you cannot figure out why she's helping him at all. It's just really bad. I mean, it's hard to... You guys, if you watch my Pop Go the Writer's Show a while back, I talked about the ABC Murders, an Amazon Prime adaptation of an Agatha Christie movie that had John Malkovich as Hercule Poirot, and I called it one of the worst movies ever made. It's a little bit better than Madame Web, because they're still working from good source material. This movie is just... somebody likened it to a night. We talked earlier about growing up with the Reb Brown Captain Americas and stuff. Somebody likened it to a 1970s TV movie. And it's perfect. That's exactly what it is. It's bad, you know. And I will tell you, most of the time when I see a movie, and like I said, I look for something good in it. I look for something I like in it. I look for, well, this is what they could build on and make a better sequel. That there really isn't anything in this. There isn't a likable character at all. Cassie, played by Dakota Johnson, is not likable. The girls, Sydney Sweeney, Celeste O'Connor, Isabel Merced, none of them make their characters likable. And I don't fault them at all, because it's got to be this horrible script. You know, these guys have become on par with the writer who shall not be named, who destroyed Iron Fist and Dexter and the Inhumans. He's right up there. Jay says the Doctor Strange TV movie was wild, though. Much better than this. If you want to watch something, go back and watch the Doctor Strange movie. Or even the Jeffrey Combs fake Doctor Strange movie. I think it's like Dr. Mordred or something that was made in the 80s. Both of them are better than Madam Web. It literally... If you guys watch The Acolyte and you see in the episode where the guy who's meditating through the whole thing takes the poison for his previous actions, the people that made this movie should consider that. I'm not saying they should die. I'm saying, though, they should feel really guilty about it. Maybe they need to meditate instead of writing more movies. JD says, no one in the movie makes a decision a human would make at any point. That is correct. They don't. Yeah, yeah. Okay, here's, for those of you who've seen it, there's a point where they're running from the cops, and the cops think Cassie kidnapped them because nobody saw Ezekiel on the train. But my question is, did they ever do anything with that? Did they ever explain why nobody sees Ezekiel? Did they ever explain what that ability was? The answer is no. Nope. After they were on the run, they kind of dropped that altogether. It says, I'd rather watch Zardoz meets Ishtar than Madam Web again. Yes. I would rather watch Showgirls again. The TV edited version of Showgirls. Just in case you think there's something redeeming about Showgirls. Yeah. It's just a really bad movie. And the ending is just so TV movie. Like, we're setting this up to possibly be a series. No, you're not. It's not going to be a series. No one's going to see this. It's really, really bad. So, all right, guys. That are JD says, if you want more Madam Web bashing, check out How Did This Get Made podcast episode about it. Preston says Showgirls is much better with the sound off. Did you know? Do you remember back when you buy a DVD and had these Easter eggs in there, which weren't just, little things in the movie. They were things like if you did certain codes, you went certain place, like on the menu, you hit right when there didn't seem to be anything, and you press a button. There used to be a way on the Showgirls DVD to just watch all the nude scenes, skipping all the story. Just tells you what people thought of Showgirls, that they actually put that on the DVD. There is a web series called How It Should Have Ended, an animated one. I always love that. And it ends with like Batman and Superman in a cafe talking about how bad a movie is. And they did Madam Web. And it was so bad that the Superman in their little cartoon went back in time to stop Madam Web from being made. And he did so by showing up in the pitch meeting version of Ryan George's pitch meeting things that he does. So it was a little meta, but it was also pretty funny. Yeah, it's a really bad movie. So if you have seen it, I'm sorry, I commiserate with you. If you haven't seen it, please take my word that you don't want to. Ed says, this was the latest in the we got to make something so we don't lose the rights to it movie. Yeah, but they're making the animated stuff. Just stick with that. They have Lord and Miller. Let Lord and Miller take over the Sony stuff. Okay? They're getting Nicolas Cage to play a live action Spider-Man noir in an upcoming series. The Spider-Verse movies have been fantastic. Stop the other stuff, or let Lord and Miller do them, because what you're turning out is horrible. And it's not, it's not like, oh, we have some fans. It's not like Zack Snyder, where you had some people that liked the direction he went and some people that didn't. It was divisive. This is one of the most unifying things on the planet. This is the type of thing that could pull Democrats and Republicans together in agreement, is how bad this movie is. This could solve all of those problems in the world by everybody uniting together against Sony doing any more movies. We've got Craven coming up. We've got Venom. Do you think either of those are going to be good? I mean, Venom, the first one was good. The second one was just, I don't know, it lacked actual story and development. And Craven, oh my God. Does that sound good at all? Who's making these decisions at Sony? Because I want to lunch with them. I want to talk to them. They can come on here and tell me what they're thinking or anything. Just all frosting, no cake. Yeah, but it's not really frosting. It's fondant. Yeah, you can make the shape out of things out of fondant, but it tastes like crap. And nobody actually wants to eat fondant on a cake. You're just making it look good. So, yeah, it's not even frosting, because at least frosting is sweet and can be tasty, especially if it's like the cream cheese frosting on a carrot cake. But this is no cream cheese frosting. There's no cake. There's no good frosting. It's just fondant. Stop making fondant piles. Have I ranted enough? Have I? Is that enough of telling you how bad Madam Web was? All right, guys. Remember to stick around for What's in the Box, for Geek Chat, and for Sketch Up tonight. JD says, I know cream cheese frosting, sir, and you are no cream cheese frosting. So, all right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Preston, Ed, Triple B, Kenneth, Donnie, all of you guys, thanks for tuning in. I always appreciate it. Love to see you guys here, and we will be back next week. Plus, Popco the Writers will be back on Sunday with Jim and I. So I will see you guys then. Have a great week.